We're gonna go a short intro this time. Beep, 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 beep.
3, 2, 1.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are going to be talking turkey, killer turkeys, the lone gunman turkey, maybe. I don't know. I want to know whether turkeys are in the Bible, or do we just consider them all guinea fowl or like hens or whatever? I don't know. We're going to talk about why they're called turkeys. And whether or not we can save the world with them. I think we might can, but that's for another story. Check this guy out. He's over here. We got this dude. See him?
Well, hello there. Speaking of turkeys, welcome. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Keegan, happy Turkey Day.
Happy Turkey Day.
Tell me this, since unfortunately I am such a sad English motherfucker, do you speak it? So since I'm in such a sad state of affairs as to have you as my biblical counsel, are there turkeys in the Bible?
There are not turkeys in the Bible.
There
are fowl in the Bible.
Well, guinea hens, anything along those lines.
There's probably, let me see.
Hey, no cheating.
I'm looking.
I know you're cheating. I see you crib noting over there. What you doing? I was just curious, man. This is
I'm searching the Bible to see if there's anything of the sort, and there's not. Fowl, that's what you get.
Okay, so we define as being. I thought fowl were largely described as water birds, and poultry were described as basically anything else.
No, poultry is what they are when you eat them. Fowl is anything that has wings.
So squab is a fowl.
Mm-hmm.
Elvis is a fowl.
Poultry is the meat, right? Like beef, right, which has a meaning, but I can't remember what it is now. It started out as something else, and we just adopted it as, bovine is what it is when it's in the field, and beef is what it is when it's on your plate.
I know that back in the day they used to talk about them. So they used to speak of beeves. It was you didn't talk about cows. You spoke of beeves, and beeves were specifically meat cows, not dairy cows. Those were referred to as something else. Mm-hmm. Beeves specifically for food.
It's all bull.
At least half of them.
Anyway, there are fowl and there are great birds in the Bible, but no specific mention of turkey. However, there is a great Thanksgiving fish.
Are we going there? I mean, I'll go with it, but it's not April 1st. I don't understand where you're going with it.
Okay, well, so you remember that, when you're driving down the road and you're behind somebody and you look up on their tailgate and there's like this little fish symbol?
Right.
That's what they're talking about. It's a secret society of Thanksgiving fish eaters.
Okay.
It's people that know that turkeys aren't real.
I have one like that, but it's not Cthulhu. It's a fish. It's a little fish, but it's a Cthulhu fish.
A Cthulhu fish.
Yeah. It's like the Christian fish, but it's got a Cthulhu face. People are really confused by my vehicle. It's got Nessie and Sasquatch walking Nessie and riding Nessie and walking unicorns, and
wow,
looks like a caution sign.
But you don't have a Thanksgiving fish.
I don't have a Thanksgiving fish. I have a Cthulhu fish, but
you're welcome.
Okay, about this Thanksgiving fish, is this something we're going to be pushing on to everybody, or just the local establishment?
Just a local establishment. It's a secret society. Just as long as you got your head on straight and you know that the math is right, turkeys are not real.
Turkeys don't real. Really? Are you sure? Because I have some good authority.
I have it on a good authority.
They're going to be calling this guy. I can't even put the vocals or anything up on this because it is literally not only endless copyright bait, but has every single emergency broadcast warning in history ever used is on this tape.
Wow.
Valid emergency alert tones. That's why it's muted, because I do not want to get what's fixing to come to this man. But I do want y'all to see what he did, because it tickled me when I looked up killer turkeys today. He uploaded this. He does a series of hypothetical EAS warnings, emergency alert system warnings, that are based around these hypothetical events, like Russia invades the White House, or Alaska takes over Texas, or just wild events, alien invasion in Nebraska. He writes up these weird little emergency alerts, and today it's the killer turkeys of Thanksgiving. And
oh my God,
it's just this full scenario that he's written out that is nothing but different. I swear it looks like it was done straight out of 1983, man. I mean, you could do this on a Tandy.
I had a Tandy.
And I freaking jailbroke that bitch. I didn't know what that was at the time, but I jailbroke that bitch to run TIE Fighter.
I got mine to say hello.
There you go, girl. Hey, freaking welcome in. Let's do the chat thing right quick.
Yes. And, hello, chat.
The video over here has no dialogue. All of the dialogue is done by automated machine, but it has sporadic emergency tones, some of which are current and illegal to broadcast.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that would be an FCC violation if I'm not mistaken. I know of at least one YouTuber that's been tagged by that one. ATL Transparency has joined the chat. He gets the gold. AJOT.
What's up, ATL?
And Danny State.
AJOT.
The bronze. Northwoods Press. Lion One, welcome in. NH Mountain Girl, good to see you. Old guy Mitch has joined. Amanda HBJ, good to see you. Brian and Chewy go hiking. I hope Chewy's a dog. Wait, no, I'd name the dog Brian. That's what I'd do if I was you, right? I'd be Chewy. Look at me. I'm clearly Chewy, and one of those that you go just from hanging around. We got KK Bootsy. Good to see you, bud. Freakin's in the chat. That's what triggered all of this in the first place. I saw him. Logical spot.
Freakin'.
Unfortunately, Captain, there's no intelligent life on this planet.
Tayanashi no Karosha.
Tayanashi, your mama? Your mama Shima? Wait, what? Stop it. Get some help. According to this particular proposed doohickey, this EAS thing that he's put together, turkeys infect people. People become violent, bite the turkeys become infected and become rabid turkeys moving en masse through the state. Like all of the Thanksgiving
zombie turkeys.
Well, sort of, but the worst part is they're alive.
Night of the living turkey.
Basically, except if a turkey bites you or scratches you, it turns into an infection that causes you to go crazy with like rabies, like really fast. And then you charge around and beat people up. You don't really infect other people, which is cool, but you do infect birds and animals and stuff like that. And they can affect people.
How many people are getting bitten by turkeys? Is this a thing?
Not nearly as many as having or as biting turkeys. I guarantee you that one. On this day, we've got the turkeys licked. Absolutely.
Because I'm thinking the relationship is different when I go turkey hunting. It's usually me on the business end of a 12 gauge and the turkey diddy bopping up to me and me blowing his little head off.
Okay. So here's why I bring
I don't
this
think
up.
they can bite me.
I found this earlier today. And after going in and watching through most of it and realizing there's no way I can play the sound on YouTube, I decided let's take this hypothetical and roll with it. Right? So let's say it's 6 weeks before Thanksgiving. A virus gets into the population of turkeys. People buying turkeys, of course, you know, some of them get eaten before Thanksgiving. So just a little bit before Thanksgiving, things start kicking off. Some people go nuts, start just randomly eating people's faces and stuff, you know. It's just people. No turkeys involved at this point. But eventually, one of them farmers farming the turkeys gets infected and attacks the turkeys, infects the turkeys infect each other. Then they escape and go crazy onto the countryside as one mass poultry invasion. You know,
I am utterly terrified.
Hey, it would be terrifying. Think about it. Australia lost that war
I know, and they had machine guns.
twice. So while we're letting the turpocalypse takes place, turkopolypse,
Turkopolypse.
Turkopolypse. I like that. That feels funny coming off your tongue. Turkopolypse. Everybody in chat, let's all say turkopolypse all at the same time. One,
two, three. Turkopolypse.
Excellent. Now, the word for the day is death, brought to us by the letter B and the number 9. I got something else to show you. You want to see it? Well, you want to hear it is the question. What do you know about turkeys?
They're birds.
Mm-hmm.
They have little thingies hanging down from their chins.
Yep.
And they go, and if you put your hand on a piece of paper and outline it, it looks like a turkey.
Kinda, yeah. I can see that. Y'all be careful out there. Them turkeys are going crazy. They've issued a civil authority warning, whatever that is. Y'all be careful. Don't let them do it. Don't let them bird get you. All right. So let's just back up sort of to as far back to the beginning as we can get on YouTube, apparently, and listen to the history guy, because he does an excellent job at covering most any topic involving history. Very thorough gentleman. I absolutely love his work. You've seen me use it on hundreds of occasions. It's in virtually half my logs links, so you could go find it in Turpocalypse. No, it wouldn't be Turpocalypse. It'd be Turkopolypse. I know.
That's what I said.
Turk first, though. He's saying
Turkopolypse.
It has to
Turkopolypse.
Turkopolypse. It has to be. You got to add it. It's got to work. It's got to be like this, man. Don't be testing me. I don't know. Okay. You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm excited. Turkeygeddon. Armaturken? Or would that be a turkey in Armageddon? That would be like a gladiator of turkeys. I'm not sure I like any of this.
Centerpiece, as you would be if your holiday turkey was stolen by the Bumpus's dogs. The turkey is a native bird of North America whose preferred habitat is mixed conifer hardwood forests. Populations are often close to oak forest, as acorns are a favorite food, although they are omnivores who eat all sorts of seeds and berries, as well as insects, spiders, caterpillars, snails, slugs, worms, and even small snakes and lizards. They are taxonomically classified as the genus Meleagris, which is confusingly the ancient Greek word for guinea fowl. While there are several species in the fossil record, only 2 species remain. The wild turkey, Meleagris galapavo, is common in the United States.
Denny's fowl one time.
To add more confusion.
What?
I had a Denny's fowl one time. Had 2 of my children.
I'm not sure that's going to qualify.
Well, he said Denny's fowl, didn't he? Is that like moon over Miami?
I hope so. I'm hungry now. Oh dear.
Get the early bird special.
Speaking of early birds, have some turkeys. Right? Okay, all right. We're going to get back to the turkey invasion. Right now, we have live footage of them currently just running rampant over a New York farm. Oh, the humanity.
Those are some wild turkeys.
Right? They're wild.
The species name Gallopavo is derived from the Latin words for rooster, gallo, and pavo, peacock. So the wild turkey is named essentially guinea fowl rooster peacock, even though it is none of the above.
None of them.
The other existing species is a slightly smaller.
The turkey is one of the most heinously misrepresented birds of all of history, man. They've done that thing dirty.
Do turkeys even fly?
A little. Yeah, they're pretty good. They're better than chickens. Yeah. I got one for you. Hold on. Let's see.
I don't think I've ever seen a turkey try to take flight before.
They can fly. They can fly maybe a couple of 100 yards. Not great. They're not aeronautical, but they can flap and get away. It's like a giant quail. You know, quail aren't great flyers, but they can make a hell of a racket. Well, imagine a 30-pound quail taking off. That's what they sound like. Like for real.
Well, it's a damn wonderful thing that they can't fly, because otherwise they wouldn't look nearly as neat on our plates.
That's true. Huh. Wait, no, it's right there. I can do it. I can do it. I have this capability. I promise. I can do it, bro. Let's see where we at. 1 minute, 35 seconds, and that's where the picture I want to show is. Right there, boob.
Engage.
Engage. That did not work. Engage. Hey, ho, whoa, no. I want to grow those.
Engage.
This is an ocelot turkey. They are extremely rare. They only breed in the
It looks extremely rare.
Right? You wouldn't expect many of them to be running around that wasn't plucked.
It has a blue head.
It does that.
The old blue-headed turkey.
And I don't mean a blue vein thriver. Yeah. No.
I got a purple-headed turkey.
All right. So we're moving on to just don't be choking your turkey live. It'll be fine. No choking that turkey. You just stop it. Right. Back to live footage of the turkopolypse. What's up, Joe King? What's happening, buddy? They fly, but they are clumsy. Yeah. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. It snowed here like 3 times in my life. One of the times it snowed, it was actual powder snow. And I went out the next morning in it before it all melted, which, you know, it melted by noon. But like 6 a.m., I was running around out there in it. And I found this really weird print in the middle of the woods. It took me a little while to figure out what it was. But what it was a place where a turkey had took off, flew about 15 feet and landed. And where he took off, the wings had blown the powder snow out of that spot. And there were these weird little divots. And dude, it baffled the hell out of me for maybe a good 30
Was there
minutes.
a big divot where it landed?
Yeah, no, where it landed, that's how I figured out what it was. There were footprints and everything there. So, like, it wasn't that hard. It was just, you know, right over there. They don't fly far, man.
I couldn't imagine they would. They weigh like 35 pounds.
Not really. Well, I mean, some wild turkeys, but wild turkeys aren't as big as domesticated turkeys for obvious reasons. Having to actually fight for your food is a issue. But
yeah, we got turkeys around here where I live, and every now and then I see them like crossing the street or whatever, and they're not that big either.
No, they wouldn't.
Not big as these are.
Right. Well, these are wild turkeys in the sense that they live in a very large fenced-in farm. So they're as wild as they're descended from wild stock is what it comes down to.
They're free-range turkeys.
Yeah, pretty much. But there's only 1 or 2 that are actually the Mexican domestic variety or whatever it is. Those weird white ones that you see it in the breeders and stuff.
Did you know that the word free-range turkey means that somebody owns it? and that it lives on a farm. Because if it was anywhere else, it would just be a turkey.
Yes. Right. That makes perfect sense. I've got one of the greatest turkey traps ever made. I found it in an old book, and I've never really seen it used anywhere else. Apparently, this works really, really well and is illegal in all 50 states. But what you do is you take a string and you tie it to the end of a branch, and you hang just above the ground. You put a piece of corn, what was it? A piece of corn, a blueberry, and a something bright red, like a cranberry or something that's blue, red, and yellow. And you hang that about 2 foot above the ground, and the turkey will walk up, bite it, and get the hook stuck in his mouth. And when you come back, there'll be a turkey there with the hook stuck in his tongue. They'll just be sitting there.
I told you it was a Thanksgiving fish. You're not fooling me. I'm on to you. You have to be pretty special to fool old Jake. Turkey fishing. Ought to be ashamed of yourself.
No, you're not wrong. That shit's evil. That same book had about 24 other traps in it that were absolute genius.
I like it.
Right. 3 minutes later.
Hell, if I was walking through the woods and saw a blueberry and a strawberry hanging off of a stick, I'd probably bite it too.
Right? You'd be liable to catch a raven out yonder. You keep fucking around like that. I like me some blueberries. Yes, I do. Dude, I had one of the most prolific blueberries I've ever seen in my life. You remember that bush that Pops had out there? We had 2 bushes. One made blueberries like a normal blueberry bush, but the other one was like gargantua mutant. It took me years to figure out why that thing was that way.
Septic tank.
No, nothing like that. That spot was where we had the satellite dish back in the 80s, and the assholes who installed the satellite dish had put in like a massive concrete foundation under it. They like super overcharged for it. So we had like a 4 foot thick foundation for a pole. It was ridiculous. So when Pops decided he was going to get rid of the satellite, he crushed that up and spewed it out across the swamp over there as some erosion prevention, and we backfilled that entire thing out of Buddy T's chicken coop down yonder. The whole 4 foot hole was filled up like a pile of all of his chicken poop just stuck there, and it sat there for about 3 years, and he went over and plowed it down into the ground flat and level, and then we planted the blueberries the next year. And
but here's what you do.
Was mutant.
I learned this from the Amazonians. What you do is you get you a plot of land, however big you want it. We're going to plant you a garden there. For the entire year, take all your table scraps out and dump it in that plot of land and just let it sit on the ground for an entire year. Then, when the grass grows up around it, at the end of the year, set it on fire and burn it down. And then take you a tiller and till all of that under. And then do it a second year. Same thing. Put all your table scraps out there, let the grass grow, and then burn it down when it turns brown, and then till it under. Now, the third year, plant a garden there, and you will have the best yield that you've ever seen out of that plot of land. What you're doing is you're filling the ground with basically compost, which is good for plants, and then you're topping it with nitrogen. That's what the fire does. It pulls all the nitrogen up. And then you till it under, and you got all that nitrogen sitting under the soil, and it turns it into rich black soil over a year. And you do that 2 or 3 times, and you got a very thick bed of rich black soil that will grow anything and very well.
I had a artesian well out at my pop's house, and when and I'm a bit of a moron, I do stupid things for stupid reasons. I dug it out, was cleaning it out, and in the process realized that there was this huge freaking void in the side of it. And so I cut that whole side out and rebuild it. Right. Once I got it rebuilt, I installed a pipe to drain everything off so that I could just turn a valve and completely empty the thing. I wouldn't have to clean it out anymore. So before I planted the garden around it, which was going to be the last step in this whole process, I made a huge pile of like dead wood, literally inside the hole that was going to be the artesian well, like the actual pot, right? And I burned that shit down for 2 or 3 days, but keep in mind, it can never actually completely burn because there's 2 inches of water in the bottom of this thing, and that dead wood's like a wick. All you could ever really do is keep a good fire going and create a good char level. What I ended up with was little half-charred pieces of chunk wood and a whole boatload of potash, right? So I took that and some sphagnum moss and sand and built me a little sod box using pieces of grass cut out of the ground. You know, we live in a clay freaking wonderland when it comes to it. You can keep water anywhere you want to. You just got to poke a hole in the ground and line it with grass. You'll be fine.
That's right.
So when I did this, what I basically made was a double swell system where the first one fills up and it's clear water with fish in it. And when it goes over the top of the first one, it's all level across the top. It fills up the little second swell, and that's where the garden was. So it was dry on top. You couldn't tell that if you stepped into it, you'd go hip deep.
Right.
I had 2-foot posts that I had put in for stepping stones because it was not solid. If you stepped off in there, your ass was gone, bro. Like 3 feet deep. All you can see was a little round disc on the top. It looked like one of those stepping stones you get from Walmart. It was actually a 4-inch thick, 5-inch thick oak chunk firewood. I think we're going to jump back to the live imagery of the horrible invasion.
Horrible wild maniac turkeys.
Those invasive species turkey. Wait, they're native here.
Oh my God, the horror.
The humanity. Right? Those corns better watch out.
Related turkey, Meleagris ocellata, native to the Yucatan Peninsula. Ocellata is Latin for small eyes and doesn't refer to the bird's eyes, which are not notably smaller than those of its cousin Meleagris galapavo, but because
Why
of
you got to make it a racist thing?
Eyes. If you've never seen an ocellated turkey, that isn't a surprise. While they are hunted by and a significant food source for certain ethnic groups that live in the Yucatan, they're rarely seen outside their native habitat because while they are easily domesticated, they do not breed in captivity. Currently, 6 subspecies of the wild turkey are recognized, although, interestingly, the subspecies Mexican wild turkey is now thought to be extinct, even though it is its descendants that you'll likely serve with gravy on Thursday. In fact, it was this subspecies that was likely the first to be domesticated, one of only a few domesticated animals in the New World. Exactly when is still in question. Writing in the open scientific journal PLOS One in 2012, a study led by Aaron Kennedy Thornton of Trent University, Ontario, Canada, notes that the discovery of the bones of M. galapavo in an ancient Mayan site in Guatemala, well out of the natural range of the bird, is evidence that the birds were part of Mesoamerican trade networks.
So
Mesoamerican lunatic raving mad birds.
I don't know, man. I've got this idea. I got this thought, and it kind of. I was talking about the American chestnut blight and beavers, and it occurred to me that there are other creatures that were affected by that in ways that you can't even imagine. Like almost all of the information we have about the American turkey is derived post American chestnut blight. So saying that they eat acorns as part of their primary diet might be a little misnomer and only happens because they don't have access to the actual food they're supposed to have here. Turkeys are about the right size for their craw to be able to grind up an American chestnut. They'd be able to eat them whole. Chickens can't quite pull it off. There's not a duck
Do we
species.
have a chestnut
Huh?
Do we have a chestnut deficiency?
Yes, there are no American chestnuts. None. Zero.
But this is news to me.
Well, the American chestnut blight was brought in like the early 20s, late 1900, late 19 teens. It was imported on some Chinese chestnuts, and they exist in the wild. You can go find chestnut trees to this day all over the place, but they don't make nuts because they have to get to a certain height before they start trying to make nuts. And the nuts they do make are typically hollow and not actually useful because of the blight. The blight
So is that why they're down here instead of up here?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
We're talking about chestnuts, right?
Oh, American chestnuts. They're much larger and bulkier than other foreign ones.
Yeah, they usually are.
So if you look at the sizes of birds in the U.S., you have like the passenger pigeon that went extinct, and it would handle most of your prairie type seeds. You know, turkeys don't really go for that type of stuff. It's too much work. You know what I mean? To run around, they want something a little bit more substantial, and a American chestnut's about the right size. Perfect.
Well, can you blame them? They're overrun by carpool pigeons.
Right.
All the passenger pigeons went extinct.
Fuck me, bouncing. God damn it. Oh, really make this difficult, dude. Make this so hard. I don't know if I can continue. That's bad, man. That's so bad. It's just
you didn't like that one?
Don't tell anybody you did that. Just don't admit it. I'll disown you if I find out you're telling folks stuff like that. What's up, Mr. E? How you doing? Those are some very jive-ass turkeys. You happen to be correct. What's up, Walter?
Jive-ass turkeys.
Jive. Look at all that turkey jive.
That one's going to town. Look at him.
Right. What's really bonkers to me is there's some black squirrels living in this stump over here. You see him?
Really?
Just over yonder? All right. I've been sitting here watching this for a couple of hours, and homie's got a gimmick going. I really dig it. But I was looking for like an emergency broadcast kind of situation, and I just don't have the balls to do the emergency tones. I'm not doing it. That's not happening.
Well, at least now you can get a glimpse into what squirrels find entertaining.
I thought for sure it'd be a church in Mississippi.
Walk like an Egyptian.
That has nothing to do with it. Stop it. Get some help. I'm not sure what to make of the whole situation. God damn it.
What was that?
I occasionally get a hiccup.
Sound like you stepped on a frog.
I step on many things. Frogs are merely one of them.
Suggesting capture and domestication as early as the 4th century BC, as much as 1,000 years earlier than previously thought. And an international team of researchers writing in the journal Royal Society Open Science in 2018 established that there was probably a thriving business in turkeys along the continent's fledgling trade route. Moreover, the University of Colorado Arts and Sciences magazine notes analysis of DNA from turkey bones at archaeological sites and from modern samples of wild turkeys throughout their range indicate that domesticated birds in central Mexico and the domesticated birds from the Southwest are distinctly different. Examining archaeological sites in Tennessee in 2010, researchers at Florida State University, writing in the journal Archaeological Science Reports, that as early as 1200 to 1400 AD, Native Americans in the American Southeast were also managing and raising turkeys. So the domestication of turkeys in the Americas appears to have developed relatively independently in at least 3 different domestication events.
So basically, we have a situation where birds that are so easily domesticated that it happens over and over again. Because
Pittsburgh.
something to keep in mind is you don't get a quote unquote domestication event unless the progeny from that domestication survives.
True.
So 3 separate domestication events took place and their progeny survived where the wild birds did not, and then escaped to the wild to repopulate their wild territory to be domesticated
So you have
by different
wildly domesticated bird,
right.
domesticated wildly.
Wildly domesticated wild birds. Yes. We should have a wild farm. Anybody
Yes.
happen to have like 200,000 acres of Arizona on a flash floodplain somewhere? Thinking about raising ducks.
Ducks?
To start with,
Hey, that squirrel's getting in on the action.
You got to have something that can survive the flash floods. I figured ducks float.
Ducks do float. They're witches.
But I don't want to raise witches. Done enough of that shit.
If she floats, she's a witch.
News notes, turkeys have been part of Native American life long before the first Thanksgiving in 1621. Researcher Tanya Perez, an associate professor of anthropology at Florida State University, was quoted in the Florida State University News. It appears Native Americans were favoring males for their bones for tools, and they certainly would have favored males for their feathers. They tend to be much brighter and more colorful than females of the species. Their feathers were used on arrows and headdresses and clothing. The meat was used for food. Their bones were used for tools, including scratchers used in ritual ceremonies. There are even representations of turkeys in artifacts from the time. An intricately engraved marine shell pendant found at a site in central Tennessee shows 2 turkeys facing each other. So at this point, it's probably appropriate to address the elephant-sized turkey in the room. How did a bird from North America that was domesticated by and important to the culture of Native Americans come to be called turkey? The Los Angeles Times wrote in 2010, the first Europeans to lay eyes on the bird we today call a turkey were likely Christopher Columbus and the crew of his 4th American voyage, 1502. They called the animal Galena de
All right. Pay close attention, ladies and gentlemen, because the answer to the age-old question of why the turkey crossed the Atlantic is coming up. It's not a joke. It's an honest question. Why the hell would a land-bound bird from Kentucky end up on a boat and be called a turkey? That makes no sense, man. And the story is just as wild as you might suspect. This is my favorite part of all of the turkey lore I was able to find. So what do you call a turkey if it's not a turkey?
A goose?
X'd it out.
Tara, or land chicken. That name is odd since both turkeys and chickens actually do fly, and as the contest goes, turkeys are generally better flyers than chickens, although neither is likely to win a prize at the Bird Olympics. These land chickens were an early part of the Columbian Exchange, with Spanish conquistadors finding them in Mexico.
Boy, Mitch, let me tell you, man, geese are rough, bro. Geese are tough, dude. Geese was never an option. There are places in the northern U.S. that have to shut down their airports at certain times of the year because the geese are just unmanageable, and they're all aggressive.
Yeah, they'll bring a plane down.
Oh yeah, especially you get hit with like 600 of them.
There's a reason we don't have Thanksgiving geese. They'll bite you.
That's true most of the world over. Locally, because we have so very, very, very many like cornfields, and a lot of our actual wild turkeys have been hunted to non-manageable levels, and domesticated turkeys have escaped and replaced parts of those wild populations. We have white meat turkeys in the wild in some places. Like, it's kind of random.
I want to find a turkey that's got antlers.
That is a sick turkey. Yes.
It'll look good on my wall, though.
Well, you can get any taxidermist. Rather have a jackalope, ride him home.
Cow. The website France Emerique explains the American fowl arrived in Europe aboard Spanish galleons in the early 16th century. Adopted as a rare and exotic food, turkey has outshone peacock at prestigious dinners and delighted foodies with its tender, refined white flesh. In 1534, writer Francois Rabelais included a poulet d'Inde, literally a chicken from India, which is how turkey got the name dinde in French, on the menu of a feast he described in his novel Gargantua. 15 years later, 66 turkeys were served at a banquet organized by the city of Paris to celebrate the coronation of Queen Catherine de Medici. Oh, wait a tick. Chicken from India? Yes, dictionary.com explains. The original word in French, dinde, meant rooster of India, and has since shortened to dinde. Those names likely derive from the common misconception that India and the New World were one and the same. But how did the India bird that wasn't from India get to be called turkey? That name originated in England. There are two different stories as to how that might have happened. One possibility is that the birds were first imported into England by merchants from the Mediterranean. These merchants traded goods from throughout the Mediterranean, including the Ottoman Empire. National Public Radio explained in 2008 the British weren't particularly precise about products arriving from the East. Persian carpets were called turkey rugs. India flour was called turkey flour. Hungarian carpet bags were called turkey bags. If a product came to London from the far side of the Danube, Londoners called it turkey. And that's what happened to the American bird. Thus, the American bird.
Ending A. The killer turkeys has infected the young bombers and infects the entire country. Ending B. The young bombers saved everyone just in time before the entire U.S. was infected. Ending C. The zombie turkeys came back as zombies and infected the entire world. Dun, dun, dun. You're all dead. Go home. Sleep. Have a nice evening. Yeah, you like that?
I'm pretty sure I saw that movie. It's called The Walking Turkey or something. Anyway, did you know that this entire video is full of hens?
Huh. Yeah.
I'm the only Jake in town.
Yeah. No, I dropped that in chat. I did. I
did
totally used the joke already.
Oh. I thought I had something I just thought of. Hello,
Homie.
chat. I can't see the chat because I'm on the phone that my chat's on. So.
Oh, you have to see yourself. I forget. Oh, no, you have to see the screen.
I have to see the screen to see what you're showing me.
Can you read that?
Barely.
Okay.
Migrating geese. Not when you remove it. I have to focus on it. They make a lot of noise and look like a wildlife movie. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a little something about geese. Peace was never an option. They are one of the most aggressive creatures on God's green earth. And if aliens ever invade, they might take us out, but they will fail at the geese.
Have you ever walked up to a sweet goose and then thumped them on the beak?
First of all, I've never seen a sweet goose.
Well, they're quite docile until you thump them on the beak, and then they get crazy.
Hold on,
They'll
what
spread
color?
their wings out real far and go waddling towards you and make a real weird noise like. Eh.
Wait. What color are the geese you're talking about?
White.
Ah, see, there you go. Those are basically just turduckens right there. I'm talking Canadian geese, man. These are like mutant ninja ducks that will fly in at your face and claw your eyes out. They'll attack you en masse. You might get jumped by 20 of them. Can you imagine catching a beat down by some geese? I don't know. Geese next week. Peace was never an option.
Yeah, could you imagine a double neck turtleneck sweater?
All right, stop that.
Bird got the name turkey cock, which was then shortened to turkey. So the birds that came from North America, which the French thought was part of India, were imported by merchants who might or might not have been from the Ottoman Empire, and thus the English called the bird turkey. And if you were wondering,
Turkey.
Dictionary.com explains that the Turkish word for a turkey is Hindi, which literally means Indian. The Indian website The Pioneer explains
That's
that
hilarious.
this fowl was not theirs. They made a completely different mistake and called it Hindi. The alternative explanation also has to do with a bird not from Turkey. National Public Radio explains long before Christopher Columbus went to America, Europeans already had a wild fowl they liked to eat. It came from Guinea in Western Africa. It was a guinea fowl. It was eaten in London, so it got the nickname turkey cock, because supposedly it came from Constantinople. The LA Times asked, was there some Turkish merchant who brought the animals to England, or were the English just atrocious with geography? When the North American birds started being brought by merchants, the Londoners noted the aesthetic similarity between the African bird and the North American bird, and the name carried across. Exactly when the bird arrived in England isn't clear. Sources claim that Henry VIII, who ruled until 1547, was the first to eat turkey for Christmas dinner, while others contend that the bird was not imported into England until after his death. That brings up a particularly odd example of the Mandela effect. The website Very Well Mind explains that the Mandela effect refers to a situation in which a large mass of people believes that an event occurred when it did not. The term itself is named after former South African President Nelson Mandela, whom many people seem to recall having died in a South African prison in the 1980s, only to be surprised when, in 1990, he was released from prison very much alive, serving as president of South Africa and finally dying not in prison in 2013. In this case, the aptly named website debunkingmandelaeffects.com writes that many people seem to recall that Henry VIII is holding a giant turkey leg, a famous painting by German Swiss painter Hans Holbein the Younger.
Have we seen this picture?
I have.
Oh, hold on.
And it is a turkey leg. And also, the reason that some of us remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 80s is because they showed that on television, that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s. I remember it. Here's the thing. It was propaganda. And they do that from time to time. It's not a Mandela effect. They literally showed that on TV. That's why most people think that. And they don't care enough about who Nelson Mandela is to look into it after that.
That picture?
There's a picture like that, but it's facing the other direction, and there's a big shiny dome in front of him, and he's holding a turkey leg. You know, one of those big serving tray deals that looks like a dome?
Yeah.
And because of this, popular depictions of Henry VIII tend to include the rotund Ra munching a giant turkey leg. And the problem is that memory is wrong, and Henry VIII is instead merely holding a pair of gloves in the picture. Henry VIII...
How about that?
Never seen that one.
Right.
Excellent. The LA Times explains that about 100 years after the New World turkey arrived in Europe, the Pilgrims landed in Massachusetts, where they found an animal that bore a strong resemblance to the turkey that they knew from back home, although this wild variety did not take kindly to attempts at being domesticated. The English, who named the New World bird after turkey, came back to the New World and passed that name on to the native birds who, were they to speak English and care what we called them, might have been somewhat confused by the association. Though the modern breeds that are used for consumption today are all actually derived from European birds that have been imported from Mexico and are thus descendants of the Mexican wild turkey, a subspecies that is now extinct in the wild. But were there turkeys? That's
so
the first
it's
thing.
Indian, Mexican, English,
Read about that.
Istanbulish, Indian turkey, Native American turkey. What are we talking about?
Okay, so this is where it all gets really weird. So back in the 15th,
It's weird.
I hear you. Late 15th century, a group of Spanish explorers brought back a handful of turkeys. They were bred in France, in Spain, Portugal, France, eventually moving over into England. In the process of all of this, they were also sold to traders that went to Turkey. Turkey already had a fowl called a guinea fowl that they regularly kept as a domesticated bird. Turkeys and
so that was a turkey.
It was a guinea fowl, guinea
in Turkey,
and raised in Turkey, and became called turkeys because Turks sold them. Okay, so when turkeys, American turkeys, were were brought in, and they have an almost identical food regimen, identical habitat, identical breeding cycle, identical everything, except they eat less food, live longer, breed more, and lay more eggs. So they basically outcompeted the guinea fowl as domesticated birds. Then,
So where did the American turkey come from?
then they get sold to England as guinea fowl, hence turkeys. When people came from England to the US and encountered something that looked exactly like what they were buying called turkeys, they went, hey, look, that's a turkey. Get it. What they didn't realize was the turkeys they were getting from over yonder were largely domesticated before they were ever picked up. The turkeys that were running around on the East Coast were vicious, wild, knife-wielding maniacs in comparison. Absolute savage.
Gang turkeys.
Basically. Not real bright, but mean as hell. You get them.
Don't do hand signs real well either.
Yeah, they use their tail instead.
But they're wearing red.
I don't know. The ocelot turkey are obviously Crips. If the Eastern turkey's bloods, ocelots are blue.
So the American turkey looks exactly like the English turkey, which neither one came from England or America. They came from Istanbul because they were raised in Turkey, and that's where we got the name turkey through the Native Americans. I'm following you. Okay.
England at all. None of them. The people came from England, and that's the problem. So here's where things get muddled when it comes to genetics and tracking what a turkey actually is. So Turkish turkeys were separated. The European turkeys were separated 300 years from breeding with native, non-domesticated stock. Right? During that time period, they developed a certain look, a certain like behaviors, all that stuff, and then were brought back here as domesticated turkeys, and then they got loose back into the wild, where they turn brown, and this is where we get our unbelievably bold display birds that you see sometimes out in the wood. And they got like the white curls on their feathers and the big broad flares across the top. That is not a native turkey. That's not the way that works in nature. That thing's dinner.
So how many turkeys total did Moses have on the ark?
Well, do you count Moses?
Say again?
Do you count Moses as a turkey? Not Moses.
Yes.
No, apparently not.
How many turkeys total was on Moses' ark?
It wasn't Moses' ark. It was Noah. You tried to trick me.
Actually, the answer is 0 because Moses didn't have an ark. Noah did.
You make my soul hurt.
I'm sorry, my jokes are falling flat. We got a serious lag here. I'm trying to keep up with you.
It's not working, but it's funny. It's funny because it's true.
Thank you.
Let's just try to get through the turkey part, and then we'll figure it out, all right?
Now, strictly speaking, that fowl could have been turkeys, which were native to the area, but historians think it was probably ducks or geese. Although Troy Bickham, a professor of history at Texas A&M University, explained in 2022, I do think it's possible that the Pilgrims ate turkey in 1621, and certainly was served at celebrations in New England throughout the colonial period. But that connection between Thanksgiving and turkeys wasn't really cemented until about 200 years later, and it has something to do with a famous sheep. Whether there was or wasn't turkey at the first Thanksgiving, Bickham argues that historians like me, who have studied the history of food, have found that most modern Thanksgiving traditions began in the mid-19th century, more than 2 centuries after the Pilgrims' first harvest celebration. The reinvention of the Pilgrim celebration as a national holiday was largely the work of Sarah Hale, born in New Hampshire in 1784 as a young.
That right there is what I'm talking about. See that white one? That was
Sexy.
male. When he did his display, it would be amazing.
You know what they call that?
Lunch.
A Jake.
Young widow, she published poetry to earn a living. Most notably, she wrote the nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb. In 1837, Hale became the editor of the popular magazine Godey's Ladies Book. Fiercely religious and family focused, he crusaded for the creation of an annual national holiday of thanksgiving and praise, commemorating the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving feast. The San Bernardino Sun writes that in 1827, author Sarah Josephine Hale devoted a chapter of her novel Northwood, A Tale of New England, to describing her ideal version of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. In the book, Hale writes, the roasted turkey took precedence on this occasion, being placed at the head of the table, and well did it become its lordly station. In September 1863, Hale wrote a letter to the President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, in which she argued, you may have observed that for some years past, there's been an increasing interest in our land to have the Thanksgiving held on the same day. All the states now needs national recognition and authoritative only to become permanently an American custom and institution.
Scully, welcome in, bud. Good to see you.
What's up, Andrew? What's up, Walter Davis? Hey there, Dennis Bowles. Good to see you, Amanda. Everybody. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. Hello.
Previously, days of Thanksgiving had been largely proclaimed by state governors, and the celebration varied. Hale's letter prompted Lincoln to proclaim the final Thursday of 1863 as a day of Thanksgiving. The holiday was signed into law by President Ulysses Grant in the 1870 Holiday Act. The tradition was again reinforced by a work of fiction, and continues. The traditional image of a feast, with stuffed turkey and numerous other dishes, took root in 1889. The noted American author Jane G. Austen wrote a fictional account of the 1621 feast in her book, Standish on Standish, a story of the Pilgrims. In any case, over the course of the 19th century, Thanksgiving turkeys became the thing to eat on Thanksgiving. We can explain. One reason for this, a roasted turkey is a celebratory centerpiece. The second one, the turkey is also practical for serving a large crowd.
Furthermore,
in 2015, Trump historian Emily Root.
Furthermore, if you've never had a whole fried turkey,
Sounds good.
Dude, best sandwiches on earth.
But the Pilgrims came over on a boat. Does it make sense that they ate a bird for Thanksgiving? No.
Absolutely. They
It's
landed.
a great Thanksgiving fish. I'm telling you, turkeys aren't real. You like my hat? I got it at Temple Chic.
It's because you're going bald.
I am not going bald.
All right. Have you ever heard of a turkey trot?
Only if they run out of toilet paper.
No. A turkey trot is, all right, so there's two definitions. One is a modern interpretation of words where people do walks for MS or multiple or various types of diseases, diabetes, and they do like a walk for a cure. They do it at Thanksgiving called a turkey trot.
Ah.
The original turkey trot, though, was how people got turkeys to market. It does no good to slaughter them back at the farm if they're going to rot before they make it to the market. So what you do instead is you gather all your turkeys up and you walk them in, and there are cases of thousands, sometimes millions of birds being marched into New York. Like people would go in and close their doors to let the turkeys go through because they wanted fresh turkey too.
Fresh turkey blubber.
Blubber. I don't get it.
You don't get it? Turkey blubber. Yes, that's what they used to light their candles with when they had the first Thanksgiving. Do you know anything about pilgrims?
Oh my God, stop it.
Edition in
Stop
Time
it.
magazine.
Stop
Many
it.
have been the tales of the big cattle drive. Hardly anybody remembers the great turkey walks. Counts author Kathleen Carr in her book, The Great Turkey Walk. And indeed, in antebellum America, a parade of thousands of turkeys hobbling their way down country roads to urban markets was the regular sight the weeks before Thanksgiving. Vermont turkeys hiked their way to Boston, Kentucky, and Tennessee turkeys marched proudly into Richmond. Some western birds even found themselves driven the thousands of miles between Missouri and Colorado. Rude notes the tradition carried on in the U.S. into the 1930s in some regions. Turkeys ride to market now by truck. The tradition lives on in Thanksgiving time charity walks and runs, which are commonly called turkey trot. It was the 1863 celebration that created the foundation for another tradition, White House explains. During the Civil War, Tad Lincoln asked his father to spare a turkey named Jack from a holiday meal. President Abraham Lincoln obliged his son and parted with the turkey. In 1947, the National Turkey Federation began representing the turkey for the President of the United States. The story.
Right. I'm going to play with your mic settings. I'm going to turn absolutely everything off. It just all turned itself back on. Turn off. That is wild. It's literally arguing with me. Oh, you're fucking with it. Stop it. Unmute yourself so I can hear what it did. That's weird. Oh, it totally kicked you out, didn't it? That's crazy. Okay, wait, give it a second.
Am I back?
Now you're back. And I don't hear nothing.
Okay. No, I didn't do anything. It just kind of skipped out on me.
So I was going through and messing with your settings because I was getting like a doubled and then doubled again echo and then it doubled again and I couldn't deal with it anymore. Oh, let's get through this while we're still alive.
And restarted the tradition of the president officially pardoning a turkey. And of course, the popular story is incorrect. A November 2007 edition of the Washington Post writes that the photos of Truman pardoning his turkeys looked real enough. Live turkey, live prez, grandly extending his hand towards the Tom's waddle in a gesture that surely said emancipation, liberation, freedom. Except it didn't. Instead, the Post writes, the archivists at the Truman Presidential Library say that what Truman was doing in the photo was receiving a turkey. The Poultry Board gave Truman turkeys every year, and we think they probably ended up on the dinner table. President Eisenhower, likewise, the Post argues, ate his turkeys. The Post explains that John F. Kennedy casually spared a turkey on November 19, 1963, just days before his assassination. When given a bird wearing a sign, "Good eaten, Mr. President," Kennedy said, "Let's just keep him." But it wasn't an official pardon, says Kennedy archivist Steve Plotkin. It was probably offhand and purely spontaneous. Thereafter, the national turkeys were commonly sent to petting zoos rather than to the dinner table, but in possibly another example of the Mandela effect, there were no official presidential pardons until WhiteHouseHistory.org explains the formalities of pardoning a turkey gelled by 1989, when President George H.W. Bush, with animal rights activists picketing nearby, quipped,
and I'm going to bring up a picture of a modern full-on domesticated turkey. Being so silly. Where are we at? Right about there. That one. Damn it. There we go. No. And there
You think Trump will ever pardon a turkey?
Are you joking? That man's going to eat the drumstick.
But let me assure you, in this fine Tom turkey, that he will not end up on anyone's dinner table. Not this guy. He's granted a presidential pardon.
That right there is your classic domestic turkey. They don't all have quite such a luscious white thing, but that's kind of the same thing as with your geese, right? You got two types of geese, two types of turkeys. You got wild turkeys that will pull a switchblade on you, and then you got wild geese that will straight dive bomb you.
Turkey.
Dude, if you've never been, all right, you know how quail sound when they take off?
No.
They sound like a rattlesnake, really slow, writ large. It's terrifying, man. You don't expect to hear it. It happens right at your feet. You're about to piss yourself, pull the trigger and shoot yourself through the leg. It's terrifying. Now imagine a 35-pound quail. It sounds like 27 helicopters taking off simultaneously. It's absolutely horrifying.
I bet.
And figs don't eat wasps. Figs sometimes kill wasps, but I don't think they actually eat them. You eat wasps when you eat figs.
As of
How
right
does
now,
a pig eat a wasp?
And carried on.
Sometimes wasps climb in and get stuck to the nectar on the inside and can't get out, and I don't think that counts as eating. And I'm
thinking of a deranged Fig Newton.
Right? It just seems so terrifying. Just this thing's coming at your face. You know it's going to be a problem because it's just got an attitude. I don't know.
Fig Newtons with attitudes.
Ugh, I'm terrified.
And since then, this year, President Biden pardoned turkeys named Liberty and Bell. Sadly, however, turkeys are not bred for long lives. The National Turkey Federation estimates that a pardoned bird will be lucky to live 2 years after it's saved by the president.
And they like the pot calling the kettle black.
To an unsuccessful play or film. Harold Meyerson, editor-at-large of the news organization The American Prospect.
Tiffany's Epiphany, Manuel Ferreira.
Biden pardoning a turkey. Isn't that like the pot calling the kettle black?
I'm not sure I get it. Are you calling him a
Biden
turkey?
is a turkey. Yes.
Say he needs a
they
pardon.
Don't deserve a pardon.
Does he need one?
No, he probably needs one.
He
or
probably
two.
needs four of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
At least
full house. Biden pardoning a turkey. That's hilarious. That's the best joke of the night right there.
I don't know. I think the lag might be the best joke. This shit's fucking killing me, dude.
I know it's killing me too, but I'm trying to hang in there.
Oh my God. Let's get through this so we can just end it all. So screw that, man. This is weird. It's like we're on two different levels. It's like we're working on 2 floors and I'm having to yell everything down to you and wait for an echo to come back. It's wild.
Yes.
Funny, but wild. Hey, whoa. No, none of that. Moving on.
Explained in 2019 that this was derived from the early 20th century when tourists would crowd New York during the holiday season. Accordingly, a very large number of shows opened every year in November, and even if they only stuck around until shortly after New Year, they were usually able to turn a profit, provided that the house had been reasonably full. What that meant was that an awful lot of awful shows opened up every year around Thanksgiving, and the critics at Variety, who were obligated to attend and review every one of them, took to calling those shows turkeys, and the term stuck. And Broadway shows aren't the only places where turkeys struggle. Columnist Michael Morgan noted in a 2020 edition of the Salisbury, Delaware Daily Times that during World Wars I and II, holiday turkey shortages occurred due to shortages of feed and demands of the military. In some areas, he writes, the shortage was particularly acute. On the East Coast, less than half the turkeys needed for the traditional Thanksgiving feast were available. There was a similar, if not as acute, problem in 2022, when the supply was heavily impacted by an avian flu outbreak. Perhaps the greatest challenges, however, have come to the original, wild version of the turkey. A bulletin of the National Wild Turkey Federation notes that as the settlers tamed the wilderness, cleared the woodlands, and pushed westward, fewer wild turkeys were left behind. Connecticut had lost its wild turkeys by 1813. Vermont held out until 1842, and other states followed. By 1920, the wild turkey was lost from 18 of the original 39 states and Ontario, Canada, in its supposed ancestral range. The 5 subspecies of wild turkeys in the United States probably declined to their lowest numbers in the late 1930s. According to data collected by Henry S. Mosby in 1937, the wild turkey was in trouble, although conservation efforts after the Second World War have returned huntable populations in most states. And while some 46 million turkeys will grace our holiday tables this Thanksgiving, the National Turkey Federation notes that turkey is no longer seen as just a holiday market, but as a low-fat staple for health-conscious consumers. And because of that, turkey consumption per capita in the United States has nearly doubled since 1970 to 15.3 pounds per person per year. But oddly, for a food that seems so quintessentially American, the United States is only third internationally in per capita turkey consumption, behind Israel and Hungary. I hope you enjoyed watching.
I guess it makes sense that Hungary would eat a lot of turkey. After all.
Yeah, they're starving.
Right? Obviously. You want to talk us out? Do that thing.
Yes. Hey, thank you guys for being here. It was fantastic fun. I hope every one of you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope it was filled with friends and family and way too much turkey, which is the topic of tonight. And don't ever forget, turkeys aren't real. Great Thanksgiving fish. That's where it's at. Have a great night. I'll see you Sunday night on my channel, and Sasquatch will see you next time he's on his. Have a great night.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to move the party somewhere a little bit more private, but you're all invited. Lorenzo will give you the details. Yeah!
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares. See me right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm.
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to